online insurance company. And here is the background about the company. This company just obtained their insurance license at the end of 2013 and officially opened business the year after, that is 2014. And that brings a question is how could a 4-year-old company achieve, because that is really young for an insurance company. Another thing is this online insurance company has no traditional offline business. That means they have no branches, no brokers at all. So that brings another question, which is how to explore the business, consider this situation, and keep it blossoming. Another thing is that grow quite really fast is from 0 person to 500 within 3 years, and with different background because that is online. So that means technical people and also the financial people, and that means that how to manage these people to make it enlarge, but without damaging the business potentials. And then the fourth one is it went IPO last September, with the value of around 10 billion US dollars. And that is quite good. Now it's 11 billion US dollars. And is considered as the biggest fintech share in the history of Hong Kong stock market. And the thing is how to make our investors happy ever after. So that is 4 problems we need to help them to fix. And here is we come last August. And now this company has become the biggest Chinese online insurance company already. And the credit insurance premiums, which is kind of insurance business particularly, ranked the 4th one now in the country, and the other 3 players are really big insurance companies, have existed for decades already. And now is monthly premium income has tripled after 7 months after we involved in. Here is you can see here is the diagram. And the premium income increased almost 10 times compared with the same period last year, that is last February. You can see the difference. And since now Chinese authority is strengthening their regulation because of the consideration of financial crisis since last August. So that means even with the strengthening regulation and the market, the company is on a good trend of doing the business. So I just want to, what our practice actually cover from business discovery to innovation, and from product design to IT delivery, and also the organizational operation. So here is what we feel as our main practices. Actually, there are 6 of them. One is a line that is set up OKR mechanism using Kanban and align the key results with the real business. And the second one is orchestrate. Orchestrate means discover end-to-end value streams and set up virtual the operational structure in Spotify model. We are lucky that we got the support of CEO in this company. So we actually adopt Spotify model in this one. And I think that is really difficult for lots of other companies, as we heard. And then the third one is collaborate. Collaborate, we visualize the flow with Kanban, that is quite common. And we hold virtual stand-up meeting with Kanban because their office distributed in different cities. So the thing to make it happen every day is that to use it in a virtual way. We have electrical tools, and also we use what WeChat is like, WhatsApp. Yes, and the fourth one is empower. Empower is adopt class of service in business processing system, and set up experimental mechanism using Kanban, and accelerate the speed. Upgrade approval procedure in an O2O way, which is similar to what I just mentioned. And product standardization. And the 6th one is refine, which is visual service delivery review and visual operation review. All this we emphasize visual because they are in the different offices, and that is the only way to ensure that they can attend the meeting on time, because we hold operation review bi-weekly, and that is difficult for them. So here is the quote from CEO that all is realized step by step in support of using Kanban. So here we will start with Align. For Align, we reconsider the KPI system. KPI system actually quite used a lot in China for decades already. But when we use it, and recently we feel there are some common issues that we need to counter. One thing is KPI system is a little bit complicated and cost-consuming. That means people, they have a lot of stuff to do to finish their KPI setup. A second thing is that people are considered to achieve 100% of their KPIs. So when people, this means that sometimes it may mislead them from the most important goal of the organization. That is actually for many years. And the goal of the organization sometimes may change because of the fast-changing circumstances. And another thing is the KPI result sometimes will influence the payment and position of the people, which lead them to be conservative when they set up their KPIs. And that is especially an issue for Chinese people because they are conservative in culture. And another thing is KPI mechanism is really a top-down process, and that means lack of communication during the whole process. So we introduced OKR here in this company, and this company, as we said, is in the really fast-growing circumstances, but actually the competition is quite fierce. It's quite furious. So we use this OKR just to make sure people can be aggressive. OKR is objective and key results. Yeah, that's originated from Microsoft, but now it's in Google. So yeah. Yes. And OKRs, for OKRs, 70% achievement is a normal score. So that means people can be a little bit aggressive when they set it up. That is particular for the people with Eastern culture background. Yes. And another thing is OKR can be adjusted quarterly or bi-quarterly. So that can feel the need of changing circumstances. And another thing is no direct interlink between OKR result and the staff evaluation system, which means people, they can be evaluated at the end on their truly contribution to the company. And that means less fear aroused when they have to balancing the risk between the person and the organization. So, sorry, you want to? Okay. So, how to set up this OKR system? We use an OKR Kanban, we ourselves. And that is to do this vertical alignment and also horizontal alignment. And the last column is done. And here you can see each card is the OKR for each tribe or each guild. And that card particularly is CEO's OKR. We put it together so that everyone can just have a look at it. And here, that card is abandoned later on because that was a trap. But when we start to talk about our OKRs, we find out that that trap is not, needed anymore. So we just abandoned that card. So that is 8 traps, 6 squirrels, and 1 CEO's card together on the same page. Okay.
Traditionally, at least in Chinese culture, that we try, we have more like a scientific feeling for management. It's like, okay, I define a KPI is scientific, and then you achieve it or you're not achieve it, right? And so actually, it's more like when David was talking about this leadership levels, it's really low maturity leadership levels. It's more about, I don't dare to tell you why you're not good enough, and I just hide behind the more like scientific fictions, like, okay, the number tell you're not doing a good job. And so this way, this gives a an employee a false feeling that, I don't know my manager like me or not, but at least I make my number good, right? So at least, when I talk with you, I say, you know what, I achieve all my KPIs. Why I'm not getting a salary raise, or I'm not, I get a good position. So this we see that have some, bad impact to the organization. So for the OKR, the process is really started from the CEO. He has to come with his OKR first. OKR stands for objective. What's the object of your organization? And the key results. Normally, there is a 2 or 3 key indicators for the result. So this way, first, the CEO has to come out. What's my goal, and for the organization, and what's the key metrics for the organization. And this way, so there is more communication. It's not like a lot of time we see that the KPI was set without employees, participation. It's more like, here you go, and what do you need to do this year, right? So, but this way is more the CEO. He has his OKR published, and then he will announce his OKR to all the tribes, all the leaders, and then they will think about, like, okay, here's my CEO's objective, and what do I do to support him? So there's more communication, negotiation. So when we say vertical alignment, it really means CEOs talk with their direct report and say, okay, here's my OKR, but your OKR is not strong enough to support me. So I want you to be more aggressive in a way. And the other thing is that we think 70% is a good score. In the KPI system, a lot of time, people think, I have been 99.5. So that's a difference. And also another thing added here is the horizontal alignment, which means different departments can talk with each other. So I'm the sales team, and you're the marketing team, and you have your OKR. And I may say something like, we want more support from you, and we want you to do this. So it's really promote more collaboration among the teams. So that way, the OKR really we start from the draft, and then horizontal, vertical alignment. The CEO approve your OKR, and then you can move to horizontal alignment, and then the other department will go to see what you're going to do, and then they will say something like, I want to do more. There are things missing, and then everybody align, and then it's more in the done column. As you can imagine that, this is really a layered process, like the CEO first, and then the first layer and the second layer. So it's also mandatory a more shallow organization. If you have 7 layers, probably you start from the January and then it end in March or something like that. So that way we find is better communication. And also KPI, a lot of time when people set KPI, we say that it's 5% for everything. So it's more like a bit of this, because managers feel that you have to consider a lot of things. So each is more like 5%, 10%. So at the end, you kind of defocus to focus on a lot of things. With OKR, it's more dynamic. I can see, first quarter, let's focus on this area. And maybe second quarter, I change my OKR to say that, one of the key results is achieved, and we want to focus on another one. So it's more dynamic process for communication. So it's more like, yeah. The card represent the OKR for the certain team. Yeah. With his boss. It's vertical alignment with, it's more like your boss is happy with you. Yeah. 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 You once there's a line, you can move to done. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So after this OKR is set up, we announce it actually to the whole organization. That means everyone in the organization is clear of what their OKRs is. Yes, here, sorry, the picture is a little bit dark. You can see there is the video. That means they are holding video conference. So we want us to make sure that everyone can get it at the same time. You know, we don't want to make it like a secret box. Yes. And so here at the very beginning is just a big conference. So we have like 100 people and also some offices in Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen. And after it, we distributed the material to each tribe, each guild, which means that they can get the information if they want. And then the follow-up meetings to ensure every staff can understand the OKRs of the organization of their own. So I think we feel that it's very important that to ensure people in the organization are the same page, means they understand each other and they can provide support to each other when needed. Here is how we rely the key results, like the KR, to the real business. And because each tribe and guild have already got their KRs, now they can see the gap between the KRs and their real situation. And then after they see the gap, now they use some tools like impact mapping to align the figures with the products or functions they need to build or they need to implement in the next several months. And then they specify follow-up actions. We make it a little bit, try to be simple as possible so that they can do it in a really efficient way. We finish all this within 1 month, I think, like 3 weeks for the whole organization of 500 people. And here is people are more thoughtful when coming to the real actions. That means when the leaders, they set the OKRs for their team, sometimes there are some things they may forgot or they may ignore. So that's why we want people to really think when they need to take actions or before they take actions. So here.
Yeah. So something I add here is that, so in Kanban we call limit whip, right? So, but sometimes when you just go back to the impact mapping,
Okay.
yeah. So for the limit whip, one way is just say that, you know what, I just do 10 things, right? And then people piss off, right? Because, you know, why can you do 100, right? So so the other way, the good thing about using impact mapping is try to help them to understand the things they want to do, whether it's very most important thing for the business. So we have a KR as a goal, and then you have to, one way of using this, there are several ways for using the impact mapping. The easiest way is that you start from the goal, you feel your goal there, and then you have 100 things you want to do, right? And each of them go to the right side, the deliverables. And you have to fill the hole to tell the story, why I do this. And it will impact who, and what will be the impact. So they have to fill in the story. So then we find out that at this situation, you know, a lot of time people, because they just imagine something, let's do this, let's do that. And then if you let them to tie to the goals, yeah. It's more, there are several ways of doing that. Yeah, yeah. So the one way of doing this is that fill the goal and fill the deliverables. And then you try to connect them. So that's one way. So this is more like when you try to trim down the scope, this is one of the practices. And the other way is that we don't know what to do. And then you can, like a brainstorm way of using that. And then you start from the goal and the actors and the impact and the deliverables. So that's more like the brainstorming way of using impact mapping. So it's actually, you can use both ways. But here, most of the time we use more like the goal, deliverable, and then you fill in as the actor and the impacts. So and then you find out people say that, you know what, it's not, it's relevant to another goal. But is this the most important goal we want to focus now? No. Okay, and then we do that later. So it's more, in a way, it's a more polite way for limiting the WIP, and then the business people, because for limiting the WIP, the biggest challenge would come from business side, because I want everything now, right? So, but this way, and then you kind of give them a tool to streamline the thoughts. So that's, we find this very important to use. Yes, this is really helping the business to think about what is the first goal I want to achieve, and what is the most important things, and also what is your how to say the 假设 hypothesis. Sorry, it's really the hypothesis in the middle, right? So what's your hypothesis? So instead of I just want this, and you have to tell us what is your hypothesis, and is what the why. Well, it's a good question. In Zhong'an's case, we lead that. So we are more like the consultant of CEO, so we're kind of saying that, right? Yeah, as a coach, as a coach. But in other situations, this is another thing that we hope that, the IT team can take the lead, is that, we don't judge whether you want to do this or not, but we give you a way of working. It's more like how about we play this way, right? Yeah. So we suggest the way of working, and it's more business people and everybody working together, and then the team make the decision. So. Yeah. Yeah.
And yes, here is because for some KRs, they are not quantized. So that means they will just draw the roadmap, because some are figures that we can use impact mapping, but for some are not figures, and we use this kind of roadmap to help them. But it's also followed with specified actions, what to do next. So here, one thing important is that we keep encourage people of different roles to participate during the whole process, and people, they learn really fast. At the very beginning, we lead the whole process, but just after, I think well, then they can do it on their own. That is, it's much simpler. Yes, and so here is another main practice we consider, that is orchestrate. Orchestrate here means that you discover end-to-end value stream and set up virtual operational structure in Spotify model. After OKR become clear and the roadmap was drawn, people start to feel pressure. That is some real pressure, because we have figures, we have roadmaps, then we should accomplish that. And so that is why they become more supportive, and also based on some trust, I think. When we want to draw down the business value stream and for them and realize it with Kanban. At the very beginning, they think that's not our business. You are the people from outside. Maybe you can just do it. But the thing is, you cannot get a real end-to-end value stream without the support of them, and they are really important. So here is the value stream for the company. Actually, because that is really long, so I have to, it's like that is from end to end. So the thing is, we realize that it will be a really long value stream if that is really end to end, unless your business model is extremely thin. Yes. But that is complicated because the business is. So that is the whole value stream. And then here, yes, people, they can sense the problem if for the people who really do the job. So they can be helpful. Then actually that is something like they can even tell you what the problem is. But the thing is you need to visualize it so that they don't need to.
Yeah, so add one thing here is that so that's the most challenging part most of the time to really to find out the value stream because a lot of time when we deal with business people we find out they don't have a lot of scientific background most of the time. They're kind of marketing people, salespeople, study literature, laws, or something like that, right? So sometimes they don't think very logical. They're more like, I can do this way, I can do that way, I can do this way, and so you have to sit with them and try to review all the documentations and talk through the process. You do this. After you do this, what do you do? It's like, oh, there is a multiple possibilities. Okay, tell us what's the most, what happens 80%? Oh, here's this. And but there is a amount of so you have to talk through all the processes and check with all the people to really begin to form the value stream. So that's the most difficult part for this consulting job. And after that, and then you can, and people can see, oh, this is way of work. So it's kind of rediscovering the way of working, or although they already doing this for a long time.
After that, we set up. Here is the original organization chart, and you can see it's just communicated as we thought it should be.
It's very functional. Most of the time, the business team is very functional.
Yeah. And then here is how we should operate to fulfill the need of the future. And then that is when we set up this operational structure. We call it virtual because that is just to say that is not real, in order not to scare people away. So that's virtual operational structure in Spotify model. And then that is like 8 structure, 8 traps, 6 wheels, and a dozen of scores and charters. And OKRs, actually, that is for trap and wheel level because we don't want to take too much time on it. But the leaders, they can split it if they want on their own. We just not make it updatable for everyone. And here is the OKR mechanism. So people, sometimes they get confused between this organizational structure and operational structure. But actually, after 1 month or 2, they got used to it. So that's not a problem anymore. And operational structure may change into organizational structure. That happened, but it took time. So I would suggest them not to rely on it. It's really difficult. And
yeah, so we call it virtual.
To speed up a little bit. Sorry. Here, I think it's your part.
Yeah, so we call it virtual because a lot of time it's very sensitive if you change the real reporting line. I'm reporting this to this manager, and now you let me to reporting to another manager, and then he will rank me, which I don't familiar with. So that's a bigger change. So when we say virtual, we normally reorganize the team more like in an embedded way. So it's more like we working together, but we all have our own parents. Like you are ranked. Originally we didn't change that. We call that reporting structure or organizational structure. But then we work together as a team. So this way it's more easier for you to make the change. It had its shortcomings because it's not a real structure sometimes. But we feel that this way, and also it's more easier because you can also change that after a few months if you feel things doesn't work well, and you can embed people, or you can use interfacing. So that's why we call that virtual, and we find out it's really worked well actually. because people are traditionally in silos a lot, and now you have at least a virtual team that helps the communications.
And the picture on the right is the main function units of this organization. And because the resources are always limited, so it's good to have an effective way or efficient way to calculate our ROIs for them. That's because now we share the resources together, and then we think after a while, then we have to find a way how to calculate that. That means you can use this person, and I will use it after. So then we come to our third practice, that is collaborate. For collaborate, one thing is virtual staff meeting, use Kanban. As we mentioned before, here is it's a stand-up meeting, and the picture on the right is another one. The one on the left is more that is for squad. We have squad stand-up meeting in the morning, and after that we have the tri stand-up meeting. And so you can see the one on the right has more people involved. But each meeting is just like 15 minutes or 10 minutes, so we can finish really quick. Okay, then here is how to empower people.
Yeah, so here when we have the virtual team meetings, it helps the communication, but sometimes it doesn't work well if everything has to be decided back home, right? So everybody come in and said, "Oh, you have a problem. Okay, I can't decide. So I will tell you tomorrow." So that doesn't help. So one thing is more like we begin to define policies, more like the Kanban way of making policies explicit, and at what level I can decide myself. So one example in the other company we call PN Credit Card, what they do is that the finance people actually get 700K budget for marketing campaigns, but that's mostly for experiment because they will spend $1 million for a real campaign. But at least if you want to try something, and then this finance people can call, say, okay, I'm okay with that, and my boss authorized me to do this. So then each people will come with certain level of authorization, so they can make small decisions, and they still have to go back for bigger decisions, but at least it help with moving some small experiment before, because that way we find is most important way to help people to make decision, because we find out in the big finance organizations a lot of time, people just do things and ask leaders for approvals, right? Layer and layer approvals. So this way, we can foster the capability to make the right decisions at the bottom level. So here we just talk about that, because the dilemma is here. We talk with many CEO. They said, you know what, my people is too young. I cannot trust them to make decisions. So I cannot empower. And then we said, if you don't ever empower, your people will never able to make decisions, right? So you are in this kind of dilemma. So the way out here is really to use the experiment ideas. We kind of carve out the certain area of people, certain amount of money, so they can play with a little bit, right? So then they can make the decisions, and then they can report the result back. Say, we made this experiment and it's good or not, and we need more funding. So it is kind of a good way to really empower the team. When they don't have the capability, you kind of give them a sandbox to play with, and to gradually make them have the capability to make the call.
Yes. Okay. Here, here is the interesting stuff. Is we find the way to of this empowerment. Actually, or we should say that the key person is the CEO himself. That means if he doesn't want to empower his team, then nobody else can achieve it. So the thing is, we really try to explain to the CEO that now the success is different from like 20 years ago, because he is a really a senior guy and well experienced in this finance industry. And you need to allow your people to try to experiment, to make mistakes. Otherwise, yeah, you have no way to find out the way out. So, but the one thing is that it's difficult to explain like these startup, those kind of terminology to him. Even he doesn't understand agile or lean. Yeah. So we draw this Taiji map. This Taiji map, you can see there is like the collect opportunity. Actually, here basic that is market, and that is the customer, and this one is company, and this one is employee. So we just want to make him to understand in his own background that what a lean startup may be like. So the thing is here is collect opportunity, analyze demand, ideate concept, design prototype, build MVP, deploy product, measure data, and then scale. So one interesting thing is that we jotted it and we sent it to him by WeChat. It's like, what's up? And then he replied immediately saying that, I think I understand it. So that is one thing interesting is that we feel it's really important to make people understand and to make people feel that that is trustworthy in their own language. So that is interesting part. We call it innovation of Taiji, and he likes it. And yes, that is actually
Yeah.
You're right.
Taiji is hard. Yeah, it's more like the information flow back. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, talk with Michelle afterwards.
but that's then there is another definitely use that is there is an old guy called Lao Tzu, and he's from like 2,500 years ago, and there is a really famous word for from him is 道可道非常道, which actually means that what can be clearly spoken of is not true. And that is interesting is that make me to find out the way to explain wuha to him. That is another example. Because when we want to explain some concept, it's easy if you just look back into the history, and then the people can just accept it. So you don't even need to persuade them. And I think that is another tip I would like to show. So this 道可道非常道 is there 2,500 years ago, and it's similar. We are running out of time.
How much time do we have? 10?
Maybe the next one is
3. Okay.
3. Okay, 3 minutes. Okay, great. So then, etc.
Yeah. So, and the other practices we find in the decision, even with the empowerment with the business side, you still have to. A lot of things you still need high level approvals. So especially for the business side, when the money is big, you have to go through certain level of approvals. But we find out the problem is that a lot of time in this hierarchy organizations is really the bottom level people doing the work, and it's the CEO doing the approval, and there is many layers of consultant. It's more like slide, and then you review the slide again and again and again and again and again, and then finally the CEO dislike that, and you don't know why, because it's not your slides anymore, because it had been revised. So here we kind of short the path is more, we call it RCI model, which is you have, for one important decision, you have one responsible person who is doing the job, you have one consultant, and you have one authorization. So basically limit the number of consultants. So this way you have two choices, right? First, it's either I authorize more, so the decision can be decided at lower level, or the middle level do the real job. So, or you just less the consultant. Right? Appoint one people as a consultant, and so now you have one people doing the job, one people review it, and then boom, let's do the CEO approval. So we feel that that's kind of one way to speed up the decision process, which is necessary, but at least to short that time. And the other thing we use a lot now is we call parallel engineering. It's kind of lean theory. Basically, it's what is said is that because you go to the CEO approval, and this normally is need a meeting, and then normally that take weeks to arrange. So if you have one proposal and killed, and then you have to wait another week or two to approve by another. To get another proposal, right? So this way, parallel engineering is really that we prepare multiple proposals at the same time. So it's more like not, you don't like this one, how about that one? How about that one? So more work, but shorten lead time. So that's what the parallel engineering is about. Next slide. Want to add more? We can talk about a little bit about that. The productization is that, for the business side, a lot of time, people will, people, especially the salespeople, want to a case by case situation, but that takes a long time. And the productization is really more like we standardize things, so that helps speed up stuff.